Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I thought that I would do a video about mental health in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month and also Lyme Disease Awareness Month. I might do another video on in the future in May, but for today I thought I would talk about mental health because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. As you can see, I've made some changes to my hair since the last video. Let me guys know if you like it in the comments below because so far I like it. I'm using toner so it kind of stays blonde. I hope it doesn't get too orangey because I think that would look weird, but I think as long as it stays like this blonde, I kind of dig it. I've wanted the two blonde streaks in the front for a while now, and we're in the quarantine, so I was like, perfect time. But anyway, today's video is about mental health and how it has affected me, my experience with all facets of it. Oh, there's a little honeybee. Did you see? It just flew in front of the camera. Hello there, sir. Don't sting me though. I'm not ready for that yet. Anyway, yeah, so I thought I would just tell you about my experiences with mental health. I want to first and foremost say and reiterate that everybody has mental health. Whether you're the happiest person in the world or, you know, the saddest, most distraught person, everyone has mental health problems. Nobody sees what goes on behind closed doors, so a lot of time people don't see what others are truly struggling with or truly going through. I think it's extremely brave and courageous when people can come out and say what they've been dealing with. And I'm really glad that in the past few years, mental health has become more normalized in society and online. It's more of a normal thing to talk about and discuss. So I'm really glad that it's become such an important topic online because it is an important topic in everybody's lives and in every facet of life. Your mental health probably comes first and foremost. That's what I say about everything before, you know, anything. Mental and physical health are the most important things in your life. A lot of people take that for granted, I think. So today I'm going to talk about my experience. Growing up, I had a really incredible, amazing childhood. Growing up, you know, from middle, elementary, high school, I never really struggled with anxiety or depression like I know some young kids do, which is extremely distressing and sad to hear that younger kids are experiencing this earlier on in life. But as a kid, I really wasn't anxious or depressed. I was pretty happy. I was a very bubbly person. Many people describe me as bubbly, happy-go-lucky in high school. Like, I never had really any problems. I might have had slight anxiety over regular things that high school kids get anxious about. You know, what dress to wear to junior prom and, you know, what am I going to get on the AP, like, calc test. But for the most part, I really was okay and I had a great life. I'm extremely blessed in that way. I didn't have any major deaths in the family growing up. I didn't have any major illnesses or any major stressors that would have possibly deteriorated my mental health. So I never experienced what true mental illness was until the spring of my sophomore year when I started getting my vision issues. And that's the difference between mental health and mental illness. Everybody has mental health, not everybody has mental illness. After I started, and you can see in my other video, you can watch the other video I posted. It's my very first one called My Health Journey, and I go through my history of my health problems. That's really when I started to experience what true anxiety, depression, OCD, PTSD really were. Prior to that, like I said, I never really had any big dramatic things happen in my life that would have brought me to that point. So after I had my vision loss and I was struggling with my vision loss, it was the darkest point thus far in my life because I had nothing to go off of. I had never experienced something that traumatic before. It was the first thing that really shook me to my core and gave me insane anxiety. I spiraled into a deep, deep depression. I lost a lot of weight. I was going to psychiatrists. That's when I started antidepressants. Even if I wasn't having panic attacks all the time, I had a low-lying anxiety all the time. I was terrified, and anytime I would have something happen in my vision, anytime I would get a little bit of blurry vision or flashing lights in my vision, I would have a panic attack. That's also how I developed post-traumatic stress disorder, because I had this vision loss happen to me in a foreign country without my family, and I didn't understand the healthcare or how medicine worked there. So it was a very scary thing to go through by myself, essentially. The whole 2 weeks I was in England, I just was crying in my room. And that just continued when I got home. I spiraled into the darkest time of my life, honestly. I'm really glad that I had, the resources at the time to see a psychiatrist and get through that period of my life. You don't realize how post-traumatic stress disorder affects you until, months to years after the initial traumatic event. Because after 4 to 5 months, and I was starting to feel better with myself, my vision loss had improved, I thought, okay, it's over. I kind of honestly thought that all the dark times were behind me. I would never have anything, that disturbing happen ever again, and that's just not life. Life has illness, death, dark things. That's just not the reality. But I didn't realize how deep-rooted my PTSD was until the fall of my junior year when I was going back to college. I kept having anxiety attacks all the time, and I don't have prior experience with that. And anytime anything went wrong with my vision, I would have a panic attack, start sobbing uncontrollably, and it just really opened up the world of PTSD to me and what it really meant to have trauma rooted in your subconscious. And it's really scary because it can be triggered by anything, and I'll get to that later because it happened again. Yeah, junior year I was insanely anxious, anxiety attacks all the time. The spring of my junior year, like I said in my health video, I was nauseous for months on end. A lot of my mental health has to do with my physical health, so a lot of it stems from my physical health. So I guess that would be categorized as health anxiety. It can be caused by a lot of different factors in one's life. It really just depends on the person. But for me, it largely revolves around my health and my well-being. The summer before my senior year was when I got my bullseye rash, got Lyme. At the time, I remember I was extremely anxious about that and worried, and that was diffused because the doctors told me, you took a few weeks of antibiotics, so you're fine, you're cured, and it won't give you any more problems in your life anymore. And I believed them. So the rest of that summer, I was pretty anxiety, depression free. And then my senior year of college was truly a roller coaster in terms of my mental health. The fall of my the fall of my senior year, that was when I started to have my numb legs and my painful legs. That's when I started getting anxiety attacks again, and I remembered the bullseye rash I had over the summer. I spiraled into a deep depression again. I kind of withdrew from my friends, withdrew from social situations because I was so focused on my physical health and how scared I was over it that it kind of took over my life. And then in the spring of my senior year, there were more than just health factors, there were also life factors, things happening at school, friends, family, that kind of all came together at once and caused me to spiral into an extreme depression. And during that time of my life, I withdrew even more. I was like in my room 90% of the time this spring of my senior year, and I was doing a lot of faking smiling and faking being okay. It was extremely tough. And a big way that I dealt with it then was indulging in unhealthy habits. Like, I gained 15 to 20 pounds. I would hide myself away. I would eat a lot. And that's kind of, it was a coping mechanism, I think, for how sad I was feeling. Ultimately, that's not the answer. And then as the end of my senior year was coming to a halt, was when it actually started to get better and the depression started to lift. And don't get me wrong, like, I was sad about, leaving my friends and leaving college and senior year and everything, but I had a lot of things to be excited about over the summer because I was going to Arizona with my dad, I was going to Punta Cana with my family, I was going to start a whole new chapter in my life with other people. So I was actually doing pretty well by the time that I was done with my senior year, and the whole, summer before up with people and beginning up with people, it was all amazing. I had an amazing time. The first, I'd say, 90% of up with people was incredible. I was happy. I was anxious about little things here and there. For the most part, I was having the time of my life, traveling the world and getting to help out everybody in all these incredible communities. It wasn't until my health flared in a bad way towards the end of our tour, and that's just due to how stressed I was and the fast-paced nature of the program, that I got really sick and I ended up having hearing problems. That's when my PTSD really blew up in my face. It was really scary because I honestly, I even told my parents before I left to go to Europe, I was like, I hope the same thing doesn't happen again where I get sick and I have to come home early because of a health problem. And I had past trauma from that exact situation. And I was like, that was just a fluke, that can never happen again. And honestly, guys, you just can't predict life. Life is unpredictable. Things happen and you never know what will occur at any moment in time. So you have to take everything you have and be grateful for it, because anything can happen at any time. And that's really, truly what I've learned through all this. I've gained a lot of empathy for people. Anyways, I remember I was having hearing problems and it shook me to my core because I was in the same, or not the same, but a very similar situation where I was in Europe, in a foreign country, without my family, didn't know the healthcare or medicine, there. I was terrified, and I remember sobbing uncontrollably once we got to Switzerland and telling my friend, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I can stick this program out for the last week, because I was having such PTSD and it was horrible. It was racking my brain, and that's eventually why I did go home early from that program, because I was dealing with such mental anguish. It was too similar of a situation as last time to keep going. That made me, in turn, made me really depressed that I had to miss the last week and a lot of special things going on the last week of the program, but I just couldn't do it with myself. Like, the whole week before I left, I was crying, calling my parents, and it just... Post-traumatic stress disorder is one of the most disturbing things I've been through. It might be even worse than the anxiety and depression because it put me in the exact same place as I was 3 years ago. Like, stress calling my parents, crying, saying, I don't know if this is gonna go away, this is gonna get better, and having my dad, having my parents try to assure me over text from, like, a different country that, like, it would be fine. And it was just too similar of a situation to stay. I had to leave. I went home, and I'm going to be so honest with you guys. For the past 5 months, I guess it's been since November, it's been so hard. It's been PTSD from what I've had before. It's been mental anguish over whether my hearing will stay the same or get better. It's been really difficult to know what will happen. I blame myself so much at the beginning because I told myself I knew that my, like, maybe immune system wasn't as strong or something, or I was more prone to getting sick from my past experience, but I kind of I mean, I know you can't plan on getting sick or life happening to you, but I did get sick, and I blame myself so much because I told myself after my vision loss that I would never let myself get, super sick to a point where something drastic could happen again. And it did happen again. And when I got home in December, it was terrible. All I did was cry, and it just was the exact same thing from 3 years ago where I was just crying nonstop every day. I never took off headphones because my ears were just blasting, ringing loudly all the time. I didn't know what was going on. Doctors couldn't tell me what was going on, and it was just, we were going from doctor to doctor to doctor, and that was the exact same thing that I did with my eyes. Just the mental distress that comes with all of this has been so hard on me. And you just don't know what's gonna happen in life ever. You just never know when you'll get sick or when you might, one day wake up and you can't walk, or one day you wake up and you can't hear or see or feel. So you just never know. And I think I had kind of, after my first incidents with, like, losing a sense, thought that I was kind of invincible and that I was going to be okay, nothing would ever happen again, but it really did. So this is the second most distressing time of my life. It's been 5 months and I still struggle daily with anxiety and depression. I'm going to be really raw and real right now. there was a time, which happened like, it was a few months ago, and I just wanted an escape to what I was going through. I wanted an end to what I was going through. And at the time it didn't seem possible, because it was just another situation of like months on end of anguish, and I couldn't see any way of it getting better. So a few months ago I told my mom, like, we have to go to the emergency room because I was scared that I was going to hurt myself. And this is extremely hard for me to say, and I can't believe I'm putting this online, but I think it's important to talk about, and it's important to acknowledge that people do go through thoughts like this, and do have thoughts like this, and so many people don't want to actually end their life. They just want an end to what they're going through and don't see any way out. And thank God I sought out a psychiatrist and a social worker and got on medicine and have been talking to them, so they've helped me a lot. I thank God for online communities, because I've talked to so many other girls who have gone through vision and hearing problems and blind problems, and they like understand. And I'm really glad that we live in such a digital age where you can find a community that can honestly may save your life, that, you know, wasn't available like years ago. Because, you know, as much as your family and your friends care and support you, like, they might not know what you're going through, and not fully understand. So I am endlessly thankful to online communities that I've been a part of that have helped me. Girls that I've talked to online that are my age and have told me that, like, it'll be okay and that I'll get through it. It's meant the world to me. And this is real, and this is raw, and this is why I'm putting this out there, because people don't know how much somebody may be struggling behind closed doors and behind a facade that you don't see. And every single time that I have something happen in my life, you know, it's something I have to adapt to, and this has been extremely hard to adapt to, and it's just taken an extreme mental toll, and I am just learning from it, and every experience I have kind of toughens my heart a little bit, makes me a little stronger. I've been the worst of the worst. I've gone to the emergency room. I've, you know, been curled up in a ball on my floor, like, crying for hours on end. I've had panic attacks that last for hours. I have seen so much of what mental illness is, and it's really terrible. It's something that I think is sometimes, while I'm glad it's being normalized, it's also sometimes romanticized. And we really need to break that stigma that it's something that's beautiful or something that's, you know, someone should yearn for or is an aesthetic, because it's terrible. It is not fun. And you never know what somebody's going through in their life. So I think through this whole process, as much as it sucked all my things that I've had happen to me. I think I've gained empathy for other people and gained a better understanding that everyone goes through hard times and everyone may be dealing with something that you aren't aware of. So I think the final point is just be kind to everybody, because you don't know what they're going through. Reach out to people, ask how you can support them, because people are different. Sometimes all they want is, a hug and a cry session. Sometimes they need someone to talk to. Sometimes they need to be by themselves, and it really depends on the person and what they need. But ultimately, I would just want to say it's okay to be vulnerable and raw and real with people. I've kind of stripped down a lot of walls that I previously had, and I'm honestly an open book. Like, I'll tell a lot of people what I'm going through because I want to share my story, and if my story or what I've gone through can help somebody else, then it's been worth it, and my pain has been worth it. If I can affect just one person, then there's a silver lining to what I've gone through. Thank you so much for listening to me, for supporting me. Just by watching this video, you are showing your support, and I appreciate that so much. For hearing my rawness and my real emotions, I appreciate everybody hearing me out, and yeah, mental illness is not an easy thing to go through, but as long as you are aware of yourself, reach out when you need help, and know that it's okay to not be 100%. Do what is comfortable for you, then you're going to find ways to help yourself and get better. This was a tough video to make, but I think the more people add their real stories online and open up about what they're going through, then others can connect to them and maybe help somebody through your experience. So, thank you guys so much for getting through this video with me. Please be gentle with yourselves. That's something that I struggle with. I am so hard on myself. I blame myself all the time for things like getting sick, getting vision loss, getting hearing problems, getting, all these health issues. I blame myself a lot. Your body is the only body you will ever have. And it carries you throughout life. Treat it with the love and respect that it deserves, because it's deserving of all the love in the world. And please take care of it. Take care of your mind, your body, your soul. None of those things are worth hurting, because they might hurt somebody else or hurt a lot of people immensely. So, happy Mental Health Awareness Month. Please reach out if you ever want support. I am here for whoever may need somebody to talk to. I have been through a lot of things in my life. I am so willing to help people who might be struggling, and know that you're not alone. And telling myself this every day, that things will be okay, or they will get better. It's a mantra that I tell myself a lot, and I think it's important to also have mantras to kind of tell yourself every day. Like, you know, you are important, you are loved, you are worthy of love, you are deserving of love. Your body is incredible, you are perfect, you don't need to change yourself, you are deserving, you are enough. Tell yourself that every day. Alright guys, thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you, and stay well.